flying game saved for the few.
The game is yours to play now.
The light provides.
This is Eventide Radio.
Hello and welcome back to Eventide Radio. This is a fan-made Destiny podcast where we have roundtable discussions about a variety of different topics concerning the popular video game franchise. At its core, this show is about having in-depth discussions about the game from a variety of different perspectives. I'm your host Scotty, and with me are my co-hosts Rob and Mappador, and today we've got some different stuff to talk about. We're going to take a slight break from the mainline Final Shape discussion because we had a big episode last episode talking about the campaign and all sorts of other post-game stuff, which was a lot of fun. So we're going to try talking about a little bit about recent changes, like changes to raids, and we're also going to dive into, Season of the Echoes a little bit. So the seasonal activity.
He didn't even call it. He didn't even call it episode 1. He's Season of the Echoes.
Yeah, you did call it season.
Shit.
No. Keep going. I think that's funny.
You're right.
No, but therein lies the problem. So it's perfect.
Yeah. So yeah, my little mess up right there kind of encapsulates part of the issue with Echoes. We'll get into that later. But we'll talk about the story and the activities, plural, weapons, etc., etc. But first things first, let's talk about what we've been up to this week in Destiny, because believe it or not, folks, I've actually been playing the game lately, which is huge
What a
news.
shocker.
So
What a shocker.
I know, this is crazy. So I've been doing some raids lately. I was playing, what did I do? Root of Nightmares. I did Crota's End. Been doing Dual Destiny a lot, trying to grind out those hunter cloaks because I really want one with Spirit of the Wormhusk. But Rob, what have you been up to this week in Destiny?
I been trying to do the raid more and get more comfortable with it, and trying to run it on multiple characters. So that means I had to finish. Well, I didn't have to finish the story on my hunter, but I wanted to unlock Prismatic. So I redid the story campaign with my hunter and took a little more time to kind of take in the scenery as opposed to like the launch week. So glad I did. Enjoyed it a lot. Doing like ritual stuff. GMs started this week, so like trying to grind out the new scintillation, whatever the heck it's called. Trying to get rolls on that, and trying to do seasonal stuff. So just, the typical grind this time of the season or episode or whatever the hell we're going to call it now. But
Yeah. Typical stuff.
exactly.
Map, what have you been up to this week?
PvP, lots and lots of PvP, which has made me happy. I couldn't really. I was starting to not be able to stomach it, especially sixes. But I've been really enjoying it. Yeah.
What are you playing, comp or like?
I was doing comp with some of my clan mates. We were doing a bit of that. We've been doing trials, but I mostly just solo trials. Trials is so much easier if you solo, so much easier, because the only people free stack are like really sweaty teams, and I do enjoy the competition. But sometimes I just want to get my floors and be done with it. I don't really find as much interest in trials, especially with Kvostov running around at the minute. It's definitely an issue, more so in freeze, because typically you're more grouped up, whereas in sixes people are sort of running around everywhere, so it doesn't really matter as much. But in freeze it's a problem, especially on Endless Veil, which we had last weekend. This weekend it wasn't as bad. On the I forgot the name of the map, the Vex Mars map. I forgot the name of it.
Yeah, everyone's favorite.
Yeah. I quite liked it for trials. I think it was fine for trials.
It's fine.
I did flawless on my first card, which was nice. Solo, I recommend it if you're struggling and your team, you're more on the average player side. Try solo queue. I reckon you'll probably get a lot further.
Yep.
In your card. But sixes is fun. I'm enjoying that. I felt a bit washed when I sort of, after taking a break from PvP before Final Shape, but I feel like I'm back now, so I'm enjoying it a lot. I did Deep Stone with one of my some of my clan mates, because one of my friends, he hadn't done it. and I helped someone do their first dungeon. We 2-man prophecy.
Nice.
But we can talk about those raid changes later.
Yeah. We'll get into that in a second. I have a quick PvP question for you though before we switch gears. What's like your go-to weapon?
So recently? I still run Rose. That's still so on my Titan. I will typically run Rose with my Frozen Orbit, and I've actually been running Whisper of the Worm. It is the best sniper in the game for PvP, hands down. That is, it's a joke of a gun. It has so much, at least on console, it has so much aim assist. It still has the old body shot damage numbers. All right, it's heavy, so that's fine. So it does 170 to the body. I've got clips of where I've just thrown my reticle somewhere across the screen and fired and just headshot someone. It's obscene. It's fun. And you get a lot of ammo. You get 6 shots around that. So you get it's quite generous. So especially with there being less special ammo typically in your matches than there was prior. It's always nice to, because I just love sniping, so it's always nice to have another sniper to run around with. And I feel like it's more guaranteed kills than rocket launchers and GLs at this point.
Sure, I get that.
But on my Hunter, I've been running a build with Prismatic, which is very fun. Is the new super, the new arc throwing knife super. I forgot the name of it.
Storm's Edge.
Yeah, that's it. So I've been running that with Blink and the Strand Grapple. So I've been all over the place while running Dragon Shadow with extra, so I get extra speed and handling on everything. So
that's pretty cool.
I need to get a cloak with the Dragon Shadow perk and the Wormhusk trait on it, because that would be amazing.
Yeah. Wormhusk, I am dying to get a exotic cloak with Spirit of Wormhusk. And just anything else.
I feel like the Titan mark is just bad. I have no reason to use it at all. I've looked at all the possible combinations, and nothing interests me. It's all the other classes far more interesting.
Yeah, Warlock's got a couple good ones. That
this is kind of a side note, but about Dual Destiny. There are, I think for all of the class items, I think there's 64 combinations for each of them, and it's kind of, I don't know. This isn't like a huge criticism, but it's a little sad that there's no duplicate protection when there are 64 combinations, and the mission takes like a little bit of time. I mean, it's not like, once you get it down, it's pretty easy, but
you don't have to do the mission to farm it.
Well, yeah, you could do like the overthrow chest.
Yeah,
but
I've had
even then,
overthrow so much quicker, and I've had more rolls on my Titan. Just doing it. I think I've had 4 drops in 6 overthrows. I think that's quite lucky. I haven't. Yeah,
that's pretty good.
Yeah, but I don't want it because I don't want any of them on my Titan. I think they're quite crap. Quite frankly.
I feel like 64 combinations. If there's 64 different ones, I feel like duplicate protection would be nice to have.
Yeah. I get it, but it's just something for people. It's just another role for people to grind.
Something
to
do.
And I haven't unlocked it on my Hunter yet because I just haven't. I haven't prioritized it as much, but I am looking forward to grinding on my Hunter to try and get the role I want of the 2 combinations, because I've got my favorite gun in PvP. PvE, it's sorted. Sunshot, whatever.
Yeah.
So I've got my. I know this is just an individual thing, but I've got my stuff. I've got my shit ready. Sunsetting isn't there, so I'm not worrying about my stuff going away. I doubt Rose is going to get power crept, so I'm like, I have actually got something to grind for now. So I'm quite happy with that.
Yeah.
Yeah. I agree with everything kind of both of you were saying. I really hate though that the best way to farm for the class, like I'm okay if they didn't have a protection on there. But there needs to be more ways to earn the class item from doing other stuff. Like at this point, let us focus them, or because when they got rid of the way you could get double drops, it was obviously a bug, and they were obviously going to fix it sooner rather than later. But when they got rid of that, there's absolutely no incentive to run the mission anymore, which is a shame because it's actually a really cool. Right, it's like the closest thing to like a 2-man raid type activity. It's really fun. It's really cool, but there's no incentive to run it because it's way, 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 way more efficient just to load into an area, find the 5 chests, and then load back into the area. And it's like, it goes back to that original, like, is that really what they want us to do? Like, you can be the cynic a-hole and say, well, they want number engagements and they don't care what you're doing as long as you're doing it. But it's like, is that really, like, because everyone wants to get that perfect role for their playstyle, right? Like, I really want like an Osmiomancy Verity role for my warlock. And I've gotten an Osmio one and I've gotten a Verity on another one, but I've not gotten them together. And so it's like the grind continues, but it's like, do they really want us to just sit and load into patrol zones over and over again? But like, it is way more efficient to do that than to run the dual destiny mission for 1 drop every, let's say, 25 to 30 minutes. So it's like, there's got to be alternate ways to get it from doing other activities. Like, make it hard to get from other things, but have it be like, if you're going to have 64 of them and not have a knockout system, they need to drop more frequently. Like, that's just the bottom line, because right now it sucks, and it kind of like, it's a bad position for them right now.
Maybe they should do it so the first time each week of that mission you get a double drop, because
Sure.
Personally, for me, the mission was fun the first time we did it, me and my friend, but I have no reason to play it again other than to unlock it on my hunter and warlock. Like, I don't have an interest in playing it again. I'd much rather do overthrow over and over again just because I get to shoot things. I like puzzles in Destiny, but it's one of those things where you can't, once you get to a certain speed, you can't really go any faster because the puzzles, enemies spawn in for so long. So then you've got to wait for them to spawn in so you can pick up some of the, like the stuff to be able to shoot the symbols and things like that. I like running through the other exotic missions more so with the timer than this one. Yeah. So if they did double drops for the first run you did of the week, maybe account wide, not each character. I don't know how generous they're feeling. But yeah, I don't have a reason to run that again. It's not bad. I think it's a good mission, well made. Personally, I'm just not.
Yeah, it's just not rewarding enough for like what it is. Like,
I think it's just a lazy thing. I just genuinely just cannot be bothered. I just cannot be bothered. There are more fun things to do in the game that I'd much rather be doing, and overthrow is quicker. So
that's the problem, is it's way quicker, but even faster than overthrow. It's quicker. Like, people have done the math on it, where just loading into a patrol space, grabbing the 5 chests that spawn on load in, and then once you pick up those 5, just reloading in. So it's like, it's faster to do that than to even complete the overthrow. And I think therein lies the problem. Like, there needs to be like an escalating incentive for like each wave that you complete of overthrow. You get like an escalating chance.
Can you get it from the Pathfinder? Because I think I got one from the Pathfinder. I could be wrong on that.
Can you? I
could be wrong. I could be wrong. I'm not sure.
I mean, I thought just ergo some drops from Pathfinder.
Oh, maybe I'm misremembering.
But it just.
But no, sorry. Go ahead.
No, I was just gonna say, like, if you're gonna make the mission tedious. And because I agree, it's like once the incentive to do it for double drops went away, like after unlocking it or helping someone else unlock it, there's really no incentive to rerun that mission. And that's unfortunate, because it's a well-crafted mission. It's pretty cool. It's something different, right? Like, it's a different activity to do other than just running strikes endlessly, right? So if you want to put it in the big pool of like, oh, I'm bored of doing, activity A, what other things? Well, you can run Dual Destiny for a chance for a cloak. But it takes so long. If you're trying to get a cloak, it's so much faster just to farm patrol chests. And like, that's really unfortunate, because like, it's not even, you're not even incentivized to like do overthrow, which is a cool activity that they created and a cool like reconceptualization of patrolling. And then they just like, nope, it's still just faster to load 5 chests and then reload them. Like,
I didn't know about the chest thing, to be fair.
Okay. Yeah, no. So yeah,
I was unaware of this.
You put on the wombo detector, put on a sniper rifle, load into the patrol space, find the 5 chests that spawn in this, like, they're kind of like in the radius of the map. You circulate all around, grab those 5. Once you got them and open them, then you just load back into the patrol space and grab the 5 more. Like, it is way faster to do that than even to run like overthrow, because just the number of chests per, hour that you're opening is just so much higher that way.
Yeah.
Like some guy posted on Reddit, he opened like 1,200 of them or something like that, and kind of figured out what like it's like, it seems like it's roughly like a 2% drop chance, and it doesn't seem to be any higher on like the final overthrow chest or like any like completing any like the public events. Like it seems like it is just as likely as any of those activities. So just the most efficient way is just open chests. Like that's it, and that sucks.
It does suck. Because personally, I'm realizing we never really talked about Dual Destiny yet, just because we've had so much else to talk about. Because I enjoy the mission. I think it's really fun to play.
The boss is very good.
Yeah, and it's a lot of fun, and I wish the mission was more rewarding. I think that double drop glitch that was going on was pretty awesome,
right?
And They patched that, which is unfortunate, because I think that was a good number, honestly, to get 2 from Dual Destiny. Felt good.
Joe, I think it's even more of an incentive to get people who are like hesitant to try and find another person to play it if there's 2 drops.
Yeah, exactly. But what did you guys think of the mission? Besides the drops, did you guys enjoy the first time? Does it hold up after multiple playthroughs, if you guys have played it enough?
For me, I know it's a different sort of experience, but no exotic mission has hit the same since 0 Hour.
That's fair.
And I have not enjoyed them as much. That's not... I think I might be alone in this. It's just a personal thing. Like even Presage, I was like, yeah, it's cool atmosphere, but I didn't... The mission itself, what you do in the mission, I was a bit like, eh. But yeah, I liked the end of it. Is very cool. I mean, doesn't matter about spoilers at this point. Fighting, your teammate, or the options of it is very fun. And even the ghost crushing thing at the end, that's very cool as well. Totally. Getting laughed at for attempting it, which is cool. But yeah, no, it was fine, but I don't. The start of it with the symbols, I like Val, but it just dragged on a bit too much for me. The puzzle, like the platforming in it is fine. The boss is very good. The boss fight, it's just everything leading up to that is just, I don't really feel like doing it again. But that's just me. Like I'm not
sure.
I agree that it's very well made and
just not replayable.
I mean, I think some people do enjoy replaying it, but yeah.
But what do you think? You don't think it's replayable, though?
For me personally, no. My friends have done it. They're like, let's do Dual Destiny. I'm like, I really can't be bothered. I'd rather do... I've had more fun playing Gambit. I can't lie.
Wow.
Yeah. Yeah.
Rob, what about you?
I like the mission. I do think parts of it kind of drag on, like... Bungie has this obsession with, and we can talk about it more also when we do like the raid deep dive of like doing the same thing 3 times in a row,
and then combining them in the
one, or not even that. Like
thing.
It's just like for the 4th encounter of the raid, and we'll save this more for a longer time. But it's like having to do that whole sequence 3 separate times, and they don't even make it like exponentially harder. Like I don't think there's more ads. There's not any like it's not like there's more champions each time or something. Like you just have to do it 3 times for that encounter, and there's no reason for it. Like I think all that they needed to do was if you get pulled in solo for the first time, then the second time you're on the outside, and then you just do it twice. So everyone has to show that they can either do the inside or the outside. If you have no idea what I'm talking about because you haven't done the raid, then none of this will make sense. But it's like you don't need to do that whole thing a 3rd time. And the same with this, like they do the whole like shapes readout from Vow of the Disciple 3 different times. And it's like, I feel like having each person do the roll once where you just have to shoot like, let's say 3 symbols, because it goes 2, 3, and then 4. But it's like, if you just had the light person do, call outs and then the dark person shoots and then you swap those rolls once, I think that's all you need to do. You don't need to do it a 3rd time, but their obsession with like, doing each of the things 3 times, because then when you do the first dial puzzle, we'll call it, where you have to find the 3 or 4 shapes that are, or 3 or 4 numbers or lines emanating from the dial that are the same. You have to do it 3 different times, and each time, that one, it does get escalating more difficult, like there's more enemies, but it's like, I feel like just force each person, like the light person to do it once and the dark person to do it once, and call it good. But they insist on doing this, like, you have to do each one 3 times, and it's like, game, I have shown you I know what I'm doing, like, make me only do this, like, twice, where you reverse the roles. But, like, so sorry, I didn't mean to go off on kind of a tangent about this, but it's like, they're obsessed with in raid encounters and for these activities to do it 3 times, when it's like, this is all about dual destiny, so like, shouldn't you like lean into like the 2 of everything kind of meme, so to speak? So it's like, there's no reason to have to do it. Like, so it makes the mission go on longer than I think it needs to, where if you're trying to like establish if someone is worthy of obtaining this exotic because they understand the mechanics and they've mastered it, you don't need to do it 3 times. And I think it does sort of suck the fun out of doing it repeat times, because there are parts of that, or there, mini encounters, if you will, there are parts of it that drag on a little too long. So I agree with Map in that sense. Like, I don't think I think
that's why I prefer Whisper and 0 Hour, in the sense of there's a timer, and I like the timers. I really enjoy that.
Sure.
And I'm not into speed running in the sense of I'm going to sit there and try and get a world record, but I like being able to do something faster.
Sure.
And
based on how good you are at it.
Yeah, and I feel like you can only do that in, the actual, platforming sections.
Right.
Yeah.
Like, I get why people don't like it in raids, that you can't master an encounter, make it go faster. There are pros and cons for that. Like, I know people have complaints about the original Oryx fight, where you can't make that go faster. I didn't mind that, to be honest.
Yeah.
Because it felt like, well, he's an important boss. I get, so for bosses, I completely understand why you shouldn't be able to speed run it so fast. But for when it comes to, there's a countdown on your screen, and I've got to wait for an enemy to spawn in.
Right.
I mean, maybe there is a way to do it quicker. Maybe my teammate was taking too long to kill there. Poor Luke. He's probably listening now. But no, it was just too long. Like, it feels like it's just too long for what I was doing.
The final boss, the final boss is cool, but it definitely it goes on a little too, like, because you fight the.
We didn't know about the clock in the final encounter. We knew how to do it in the Tormentor thing,
right?
Mm-hmm.
But we didn't know it was there in the final bit. So when it does it really quickly, it does it. I think it changes every like 4 or 5 seconds.
Right,
something like that. Yeah.
Yeah, we were we were freaking out. That was fun. Because we were like, because we didn't realize what we had to do.
Right.
So that was fun, and I enjoyed that a lot. And then the PvP bit, but I just have no reason to play it again. But I'm not saying it's bad or people shouldn't enjoy it. That is just, I know I'm an outlier here, that I don't enjoy it as much as others. Like, I'm aware of that.
No, but I mean, that's fair. I mean, some things are meant to be played once. Like, for example, Persona 5 is one of my favorite games of all time. I really don't have any desire, though, to go back and play through another 100 hours of the game. Like, one and done is good for me. It doesn't mean it's bad. It just means I don't want to replay it.
Yeah, and that's fair. And I know I have weird opinions and views of things in Destiny, where some things that a lot of people love or are fun, I think, no, that's just not fun.
No, that's fair.
But, yeah, like...
So I'm going to be kind of a dissenting voice here, but I really like the mission. I think it's good. I totally see what you guys are saying.
Yeah. It's well made. It's definitely well made.
Yeah. Oh yeah. I don't think it goes on super long. Like, I mean, like, I totally see what you're saying, but I do enjoy it. I do. It could be like maybe like an encounter shorter, like, but that's. I
think I know what ruins it for me.
What?
It extends the timer.
You don't like that?
No.
Oh, okay.
Because all the others, it's just a timer. It doesn't get extended. Whereas, and I think I've just realised partly why I don't enjoy it is that it's like, oh, you've got 5 minutes to do this, and then you get it done. It's like, oh, here, have 10 minutes. Just make it a set timer from the beginning, 30 minutes.
Sure. Yeah, I agree. Sure. It doesn't that when every other mission like this has been a countdown where you just had a solid 20 minutes or 40 minutes. Yeah, I don't know why they like it. Just it's kind of weird. The presentation.
Yeah,
I agree.
Is a little strange.
And
the crystals and everything. And...
Yeah, and it's like the dragging on thing. It's a weird balance because if it's not very challenging, then it's like, oh, so they're just giving away the exotic class item, which I'm not trying to say like, oh, if they had one less encounter or anything like that. It's just like there's kind of a weird balance. I mean, the mission's really fundamentally not that difficult.
I don't get that stance of people saying it's being given away because of the fact that it's a random rolled thing. If it wasn't a random rolled thing, I think that's dumb, that opinion, but I can see that argument where it's coming from of, oh, they're giving it away. But it's a random rolled thing. You could get stupidly lucky and get the one roll you want from the beginning, but that's very unlikely, and people might have to play it again. So,
I don't think the mission's any easier than Whisper or 0 Hour were.
I think it is. I think it is.
Oh, it's way easier.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, like going back to like when they first dropped. I mean,
mechanics wise, it's harder because the other ones don't really have mechanics.
Right.
Especially if you don't know how to read a clock properly.
Yeah.
But, but enemy wise, it's a lot easier.
Right.
I mean, Whisper doesn't even have enemies half the time. Like half the mission is jumping across platforms.
I think this is why I just love 0 Hour so much. I could go and do that now and I'd enjoy it. I wouldn't get anything out of it, but
So what'd you guys pick on your first run through? Peace or violence?
Oh, peace.
I did violence.
I've only ever done peace. Like I don't even know what
you haven't done the PvP part.
No,
I'm the PvP. Of course, I'm picking violence.
If you pick prepare for battle, you both get to kill each other.
Did you not know that?
Yeah, whoever kills the other person gets to go up and try and crush their ghost, and then Savathun will like laugh at you and be like, "You're so quick to, kill people for listen to whatever voice is telling you to kill something."
You both get the reward though, right?
Yeah, you do. It's just like a trick.
That would be dumb.
It was cool.
Did you not know that? That's why I said. Well, no,
I someone made a comment that you like fight each other, but it's like because there's basically what like 3 different outcomes, right? Both of you choose peace, both of you choose battle, or one of you chooses battle.
Choose nothing. Or well, if you both do nothing and you choose not to do anything, Savathun shows up and she makes you fight each other.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
that's awesome. Yeah, I've only because when I ran it, we were trying to do the double loot glitch, so you'd have to choose peace. So I've only ever done peace.
Oh, gotcha.
No, we did
you got to do the battle just for fun.
And I very quickly put my PvP thing on.
That's awesome.
Cool. It was fun.
It's stuff like that like I think will make the mission memorable.
Can you imagine if you lost and then you could crush the other person's ghost and the character just gets deleted?
Oh my god!
You just get booted to the title screen, like the original Destiny 1 thing starts.
Yeah, all the way back to the start. That's funny. So do we want to talk about the quote unquote controversy around Dual Destiny, or
the whole like
making
do
friends?
We just not even want to talk about it? It's
making friends.
We can talk about it. I think I'm gonna have a very negative.
I'm gonna get a little angry too.
On PC, it's so much easier to type in text chat,
right?
And for PC players, it's just going to be easy, and I feel like people are more used to doing that. On console, I feel like more people are used to doing LFG things, especially for Destiny specifically.
Right.
I could be way off on that, but I understand why people don't want to talk to other people. Like I get that completely, but I don't think it's like I don't think it should have been like people hating on a mission because it requires 2 of you.
Right.
Yeah. So for those who aren't in the know, there are some people who are frustrated with Dual Destiny and the fact that you need to have another person in the mission that you need to, make call outs to and stuff. And they're upset that the exotic class item is locked behind a mission where you have to play with another person and have a mic or text chat or whatever. That is a complaint from a certain party. But yeah, they're just, before we get into that, just for reference, in case you were unaware.
No, go make friends. I'm joking. I've met some of my closest friends playing Destiny.
Yeah.
So I'm in the camp of go out and make friends.
Right.
Even like when I first played Destiny and I first did raids and stuff, I was 13? Yeah, I was 13. So I was, very barely a teenager, and people don't like kids, especially in online gaming. Luckily for me, I had quite a deep voice at the time, so people thought I was older, especially Americans. That was great. Sorry, lads. People thought I was like 20 when I was 14. It was great. And I remember one time I was doing King's Fall, and my mum came in and was like, "Oh, can you do the washing up?" And they were like, "Yeah, listen to your wife, man." And I was like, "All right, yeah." But I've met some of my best friends and I still know them to this day. I still play Destiny with them. And there's some people I don't talk to anymore just because of life, but I'll still, chat to here and there. I know not everyone playing the game is nice. I'm fully aware of that. And you can get real shitheads on LFG. I've met them. I've interacted with people like that. Yeah. And I do hear LFG horror stories, but I think the worst thing I've had from LFG is people just either lying about what they know or just leaving after they wipe in a raid once, or like in trials or something. I've never personally had an experience of someone like harassing me, or I feel like people are too, in my experience, wouldn't actually say things verbally to you and then like disappear. I feel like they'd just leave rather than actually say anything. So I think trying it once, at least, try and dip your toes in. For some people, I get they just won't do it, and that's fair. But I think having a whole meltdown about a mission is a bit too much.
Excessive. Here's my take. So yes, like social anxiety is a very real thing. I'm not gonna deny that. That's totally a struggle that people go through, and you have my full sympathy. But it's not fair to rip on a mission and complain about not being able to get an exotic class item, because unfortunately, not everything in the game is going to be tailored to you, right? And I think it's a little silly to complain about, oh, why can't I get this exotic class item behind this particular mission that requires communication, when raids have been around since the beginning of the game for 10 years. And there have always been exotics, and the best possible loot you can get in the game have always been locked behind activities that require
communication. You literally couldn't get the highest light level at the start of Destiny without doing the raid.
Forever so 29 hashtag, yeah.
It's like that part of the game is so baked into the identity of the franchise as a whole. There's just, I think it's a silly complaint. You can't rip on that. That's what the game is about. And maybe that part of the game just isn't for you, and that's okay. But,
right.
Please keep making more things like Dual Destiny, because that's,
it's creative.
Unfortunately,
and so
to some,
different than everything.
It is. It's exciting. It's, it plays into, like I was saying, the identity of the game, and it's very cool. And I think it's a silly complaint when this has been a thing since the beginning of the franchise.
Yeah, it's also, and this is maybe the hot take too, where it's if you are a solo player and you're not really doing raids, you're not really doing dungeons, and all you're doing is running strikes and patrols and things like that, then you don't really need the class item.
Exactly.
The class item is meant for kind of uber specific builds
Oof.
for doing like raids and things like that. And there's always the, well, I paid for the content and I deserve it, which is a whole other conversation that we can talk about some other time. But it's like, everything that's on that class item is like stuff that you can already do in the game, and it's just meant for like, oh, I have the cool Star Eater one that's going to allow me to do slightly more damage to the witness during the raid. Like, okay, like that's cool, but you don't really need it if you're running strikes. And I know maybe that's like the hot take. Like, if you have been exclusively running like as a solo player, then you're just going to keep running solo stuff, and like this class item doesn't really do anything for you. And if you're pissed off that you can't run it solo, and you're one of those guys or gals who runs everything as like a solo, like, oh, I do 0 hour solo, I'm that much of a badass. It's like, okay, well then you're good enough that you can then take the time to spend 30 minutes to queue with someone and figure it out. Like, there's no permutation that exists where of a player that needs this item that can't figure out a way to make it work in some kind of LFG potential. And Map, to your point too, you're absolutely right. There's so many horribly toxic players out there in the LFG community, but for every like horrible person, there's got to be 20 good people that are totally patient, totally willing to help out someone who's maybe got social anxiety issues or doesn't like to talk, maybe don't even have a microphone, but there's alternate ways to communicate that you could put in. You could use the chat in the Bungie app on your phone and chat back and forth that way of like, oh, I've got 1, 4, and 7. Like, what do you have? You know, like there are so many ways to skin this cat where if you don't like to talk to people, you can figure it out. Well, it's an expression.
Leave my cat alone.
But it's like
my poor cat, she's old.
Well, it's like the whole like what PETA came up with all the alternates to like all the horrible animal abuse type expressions, like kill 2 birds with 1 stone. It's now feed 2 birds with 1 scone, and like and instead of beating a dead horse, you feed a fed horse. So yeah, we'll pet the cat in a different way.
I'm gonna have to. I'm even though I'm the PvP person here, and people normally think I'm elitist in terms of PvP wise, I'm gonna have to disagree with you on the class item thing. That if they're playing strikes, then it's not really for them in terms of the exotic. So I think that's a bit unfair to say.
Well, but the exotic is.
I get what you mean to say the mission isn't for you in sense of it's harder, but I meant the exotic itself. I think that's not fair to say you shouldn't have it because they mostly play strikes.
Well, but what, you know,
I think it's less of a matter they shouldn't have it.
Like, but
it's like, what do you need it for?
Yeah, no, I get that, but it's a fun thing, isn't it? It's an exotic, is you know, like,
right?
All right, they don't need it in a sense of they're playing really hard content, but you know, it's cool to have an extra grenade plus your weapons ready faster for funsies. You know,
sure.
Like I think that's slightly unfair.
Yeah, it's funny, but you don't need it. Like it's not.
No. I get like. Yeah, no, I get what you mean. I think it's just the wording of it.
Yeah, I know, and that's what I said. That's the hot take where it's like people wanting like the raid exotics, or like there's the group of guys that I've been kind of playing with recently and helping them do raid and dungeon and endgame content, and like for the most part, they all like they're super into it. Like they want to learn the mechanics, they want to learn how to do VOG, and they like I know I keep using VOG as the example because they're still kind of like learning VOG, but like. They're getting to the point where like now they're able to kind of get through it without actually even needing me to like help them and remind them of the mechanics. Like they're getting better because they're putting in the time and effort to like learn it. I'm super proud of them, and like anytime they want to run, like I'm totally down because they're just barely dipping their toes in it. But one of the guys that's friends with them, like he cannot be bothered to even learn something as simple as like the oracles of like hey man, you have to shoot them in order, and it's like he just cannot wrap his head around the whole like you actually have to put the slightest amount of brain effort into learning how to do this to advance it. And like there are some people in this community that's where they will always be, and that's totally fine because you need all kinds of players to play this game. And even if it's the most minimal of engagement of I'm just going to run through strikes and kill things, like that's fine. but you need to accept that you are not going to get the higher end game gear by only running strikes. And the moment that you kind of learn that and get over it, then we can all move on. And I feel like this exotic class item is in that echelon of like, it's exclusive, like kind of hard to obtain gear. And if you cannot make the effort, then it is not for you. And it's that simple. Like, I'm sorry, but it is not for you.
I agree.
I get it, but I agree and I also disagree. Like I think it's just because of how blunt it is.
Sure.
But I think, look, I'll say this: if you're worried about LFG, I have met some of my closest friends my whole life on Destiny LFG. You go, oh, that's like depressing or sad or whatever. It's true. I've met some really good people. I'm going to list them now because they're all that important. So, T, Breezy or Morad, David, Luke, Cal, Harry, and Scott are all some of my closest friends that I've played hundreds and hundreds of hours of Destiny with, and they're all great people. And like, I just met them through Destiny.
That's
like,
great.
You know, and I do think there are still good people on LFG, and I think the bad eggs, they're far and few, but you know, you hear about them still.
Right. I remember getting kicked from my first Crota run because I didn't have Gallimore.
Yeah.
Like, I
see, that's a you problem right there. The raid wasn't for you.
Yeah, it wasn't for me.
Yeah.
You know how I got through is because I had truth. And there was enough people that didn't even know what that rocket launcher did. And I was like, oh, it's got like Uber tracking. I could be looking the opposite direction and it'll still hit him. And I was like, and it holds 3 in the tube, so I'll always fire multiple. And they're like, okay, you can stay in Crota Zen. That's fine. Like,
all right. So this is a good segue right here into our next topic. If we want to talk about LFG and raids and stuff like that. So with raids coming out in Final Shape, after Final Shape came out, raids got in dungeons, I believe, correct?
Yes.
Also
dungeons.
got this change.
Yes.
This change where all these past raids and dungeons and stuff got like health buffs, and so they've essentially made, you know, a lot of the older raids and dungeons a little bit harder. And I was not aware of this change, and I was doing Root of Nightmares not that long ago, and Nezarek was kind of giving us a little bit of trouble, and I felt kind of like, yeah, true. But I felt a little shitty about myself. I was like, what are we doing? I don't remember Nezarek being this difficult. When I found out about that change.
I don't think it was in the patch notes.
Okay, so maybe
I'm pretty sure it was. Because I feel like I remember people talking about it and going, "Oh, this sounds a bit scary with the extra health and the modifiers, you know, the surges." Yeah,
the surge thing as well. So they've made these old raids a little more difficult. I was doing the thing that made this most significant, I suppose. I was doing Crota the other night this week, and one of my buddies, who was in our raid group, was on Oversoul duty, and I think he was about to lose his mind because every time he went to go kill the Oversoul, it didn't work. And he's like, whoa, what am I doing wrong? I emptied like 3 GL shots into the Oversoul, still not dead. I tried the rapid fire fusion thing, which used to be the go-to play for the Oversoul. It's not working. He was about to lose his mind. But we eventually made it through. But I guess he was saying, he's like, oh, you know, maybe the raid like health changes have affected the Oversoul as well. And I was like, oh, interesting.
See, I do find, because I wonder if that did correlate or not.
Yeah, I'm curious. But I guess so here's my little take, and you guys can you have full reign to be like, Scotty, this is a skill issue and a you problem, and you need to get better at the game. But I feel like for some of these bosses, I feel like the health changes weren't really necessary. Like, I think Nezarek definitely needed a health buff, right? I mean, he's notorious for being made of paper. But I feel like the other bosses, I mean, who out there was like saying like, man, I really wish Crota and Atheon were like took longer to kill. Like, was that actually like
I
a
mean,
complaint going around? Like, I
so
feel like that wasn't necessary.
They reverted after people complaining. They reverted the surge changes.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And made it like a thing across the board. And I did Deep Stone with the surges still when they were still having the surges on, and I didn't notice any differences. I was running Arc and I was running Stasis because they were the two burns, and I know people were moaning about those two ones specifically because they're bad. But we didn't have a problem. We still won phased A-tracks with Parasite and Thunder Crash. I think we had 2 Thunder Crashes.
Because Thunder Crash is
yeah.
Arc, so...
Yeah, no. I'm saying we only had 2 though. It wasn't like we were a full team of Arc Titans.
Sure.
But we still did it with Parasite, so that was fine. And then for Tanix, it was, I think we like nearly won phase in, but had to do a second phase. Challenge mode variant, obviously, where you do the all 4 deposits.
Yeah.
We always do it that way. It's just easier. And then I did Prophecy after the changes, where it was just a flat out increase. And I noticed this slightly more there, where we were 2-manning it, and the person I was doing it with, she had never done it before, and she doesn't really know what optimal DPS is, or she's still got blue gear, I think, or and we had to 2-phase the first boss. We 2-phased the Kel Echo as well, but that's more reasonable. But the first boss, the Taken Phalanx, that took 2 phases, where normally I it would take 1 with 2 people. So I noticed it there. I haven't done Nezarec and I haven't done Crota since the changes either, so I don't know. But I know some bosses have increased health, like with Caretaker. So I imagine that might be a bit of a pain. How was Caretaker?
Yeah, that's another thing.
Has anyone done Caretaker?
I haven't done Caretaker, but I heard Caretaker was buffed, and I'm just like, who?
Yeah, he has a lot.
Who's like, man, I really wish Caretaker had more health. Like, was that really a thing that needed to be done?
I agree with Nezarec having more health, because
yes,
he's
I agree
the
with
final
Nezarec.
god of pain, not final god of fucking 1-phase DPS. So
yes, he needs more health. But
yeah,
I feel like some of the other ones, just I don't know if that was
some of the other.
I feel like, especially with Ghost of the Deep, that's dumb. I hate that dungeon. But that's
another
made me
thing.
Want to play it even less, even though I didn't want to play it anyway.
Right. Yeah, the whole not being able to break shields with Arbalest and Ghosts of the Deep with a single shot anymore is like, why? Like, stuff like that doesn't make any sense. And the surge thing you can play around, but this kind of goes back to what we were talking about last time with the Pathfinder, which they've quote unquote changed to be a little more like you can do just purely PvE or PvP track if you want.
I've been playing Gambit because of it, and I've been enjoying it.
That's good. Hey, they added a map and they added some new enemy types to Gambit. I'm okay with it. Like I have more Gilded Conquerors than I would like to admit. So I've got no quarrels or qualms with running Gambit. And so I think the problem with going with the surges, and I am glad they got rid of it, because it really kind of sucked the fun out, especially on learning the new raid, is this whole, and I know it's kind of a cliche thing to bitch about at this point, but I'm still going to do it. It's this whole, like, we want you to play the way you want to play, but we're going to constantly be putting, like, hindrances on you, where it's like, if you're not running Arc, you're throwing for your team, because that 25% damage is a huge detriment. And it's like, it feels like we're still hovering back to this match game thing, where even though they got rid of match game, they still find ways to, like, sprinkle it in where you have to run certain damage types to get through the encounters easier. And I'm like, I'm sick of it. Like, if I want to run my Scintillation, not because it's Strand, but because it's the new linear fusion rifle that I just earned, let me run it and not restrict it in what activity I'm going to run it in, because, this week is Arc and Stasis and not Strand. Like, that bothers me more than anything. Is, like, I'm okay with them updating some of the boss health. I don't know why they didn't do it for Pantheon. Like, I guess maybe, like, because by the time you get to -20, like, Caretaker was pretty rough as is. But,
yeah,
like, so there's so many like I did Pantheon. I've got the Godslayer title. Like
he's a God Slayer. Everyone listen to me.
No, it's funny though, but it's like
my opinion has arrived.
No, but it's like I ran.
That wasn't
the
a joke
minus...
at you. That was a joke in general.
I actually helped multiple people, so it's not like I did it one and done. Like I ran through it quite a few times, and it's like they have these weird design ideas in their head of what they want us to do or not do, where it's like. With Pantheon, you basically had to do 2 damage phases for every boss because, like, that's just kind of what they decided. And, like, now it's manifesting itself in a different way with Surge mods. And now it's manifesting in a different way where it's like things have additional health for seemingly no reason on, like, certain raids where it's like, why would you do this? Like you said, like, for Caretaker, no one was asking for it. Like, and some stuff, I get why they did it, like, what's the first encounter in Last Wish where basically, like, and Scotty, you ran it with us, right, when we were farming for the red border weapons, where you could phase her with, like, no effort at all. And it's like, I'm glad they got rid of stuff like that. But now it's like, it's kind of too little too late because all the teams that wanted the red borders have already farmed for them and have all of them. So, like, no one's going back and just casually running Last Wish and now pissed off because, oh, darn, we can't 1 phaser. It's going to take 2 phases now. It's like, that change seems so, like, insignificant in the big scheme of things because the people that are just running Last Wish because they like it are like, it's not going to bother them, and the barrier to stop red border farming is kind of like long gone. Like, you should have done that like 4 seasons ago, if that's the design intent behind it. So I don't know what I'm trying to say with all of this, where it's just like, why now? Like, and it's not in the patch notes. I looked at the 8001 patch notes. So there's nothing in there about changing boss health.
I feel like it was dumb for dungeons. That was the main thing for me.
I guess.
And there are accomplishments for soloing dungeons, but now it's like you've got a 10 phase, the Ghost of the Deep final boss.
And no one's going to want to do that. Like,
or the first boss in Spire. I don't want to do Spire because that boss has so much health.
Yeah.
Oh, the stupid harpy on the top of the roof. Yeah.
Has anyone done Garden yet? I haven't seen anyone talk about
Who plays Garden, period? I want to play Garden.
I want to play Garden for the music.
It really made me mad. So I think the first week, Garden was the pinnacle raid for you, so you could get a pinnacle drop. And so there was a guy in our clan that, like, insisted that we run Garden because we could get it done real fast. He's like, we all know what we're doing. We'll just 1 phase it. And I'm thinking to myself, I'm like,
div run.
I haven't done Gardening of Salvation in like 2 or 3 years, maybe, probably longer than that. Like, all I remember about that is, like, it's Gambit Light, and it was like, I don't know what order we're supposed to be shooting the portals in, or who's supposed to do what, or, like, I kept insisting, like, shouldn't we be rebuilding these platforms? And they're like, no, we're just going to get it done in 1 phase. We don't need to do this. And then we got to damage, and we did, like, 20% of his health. And I'm like, guys, we don't know what we're doing. This is not going to be a quick, like, oh, let's just bang this out real quick, like, and then so we immediately gave up. And it was just
but remember, guys, div is broken.
Yeah.
And 2 OP.
Yeah, exactly. So it was like, I don't know. So the final boss might have more health. I don't know. We didn't really experiment very long. Because I was like, what are we doing for damage? They're like, it doesn't matter, anything, they'll just nuke them. I'm like, I'm pretty sure we should still be doing, like, the whole, like, div xenophage strat, right? Like, the last time I played it, that was popular, and, like, nope, everyone just kind of ran around with their heads cut off, and it was awesome and terrible. So
I find second encounter fun in Garden, just as a full stop. I just find it, I don't know what it is.
Is that where you, like, split into the 2 or the 3 teams where you're, like, bouncing the buff back and forth to stop? It's like confluxes, but, like, slightly more complicated.
But good, yeah. And then I like the Harpy boss because it's just really weird. Like, it's just so unique for a boss fight. I don't know why, it just is. Like, you follow the boss around, and then I love the music in Last Encounter.
Yeah,
it's just a Vex with speakers attached to it. But no one wants to run it. I mean, the gear's kind of the hand cannon's cool.
They'll eventually make the weapons and they're craftable, and then it'll make Garden of Salvation popular for, like, a couple of months while everyone farms. You know, because I think some of the weapons are kind of neat looking.
They're cool, yeah.
But they definitely need to do the, you know, rejuvenate the perk pools and add
snapshot opening shot,
right,
as third and fourth column perks on the sniper, and you've sold me even more.
And they'll add like heal clip incandescent to the hand cannon for like the 50th solar hand cannon that we have that has heal clip incandescent in it, and it's like, so they'll do that, and it'll breathe some new life into it. It still blows my mind, like, because that's when, not to bag on Garden of Salvation, like that's when Pinnacles came out, right? Was Shadowkeep, and then the one main source for that season to get Pinnacles, and they didn't even put a heavy weapon in that raid. It's like, what were they
there's
thinking?
No heavy
There's
weapon.
no heavy weapon. So it's like, how the hell were you
that.
supposed to get heavy drops for Pinnacles that first season? It was so, and that was when it was only +1 each time, so you had to get like all 8 slots filled out with stuff before you could advance 1 Pinnacle level. And people were like, yeah.
I do find it funny when people go in and they're like, it doesn't work, the raid doesn't work properly. I'm like, you just don't know how to do the connection thing.
Yeah, the tether.
I've never had the tether like not work in terms of like,
right.
I've had it be funny because people are standing too far away.
Right.
But I've never had it just decide it's not going to work.
Right.
I've never had that.
The tether is the ultimate test for like patience. Like, it's funny the number of people that cannot sit still, and it's like,
you know what, it's div run.
Yeah,
Garden.
it's like just or like when you're rebuilding the platforms in the final fight, just stop moving. Like, don't. I'll link it. Just stop moving, and they have to like strafe. There's like this inner urge to always be moving. It's like, stop moving. And it that's why it keeps breaking, because I need you to stop moving, but you can't help yourself. There's a couple of guys in my clan that are just cannot help themselves. Like, they're always sliding, they're always moving. It's like, stop. Just stop.
We've already done the weekly VOG talk.
Yeah.
Already.
Weekly VOG discussion.
Yeah, VOG comes up every week.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, I agree. Is people are just impatient.
Yeah.
And they're like, oh, it doesn't work, and they're jumping around. It's like that's not how you do it.
Yeah, it's not working because you're not. Stop moving. Just stop moving. Like, it's that simple.
Because them going up and down means the tether goes further.
It does.
Because it has longer distance to go because you've jumped.
Right.
You're hovering around.
Sorry, Scotty.
And why have you got stompies on the Garden of Salvation?
Oh my god.
I'm gonna use this opportunity to plug my LFG story really quick.
Yes, please do.
Yeah.
We were doing Root of Nightmares. I don't know, I think it was probably last week, and we're on Nezarek, and these guys, they were nice, like they were cool, which is great. That's all I can ask for, really. But we were struggling with Nezarek, and we were like, we just had these 2 guys, we had them on ad clear because we all know what to do, and we're like, okay, you guys can just do ad clear, that's fine.
Right.
And we were struggling with the ads, and we're like, all right, guys, what's going on? And we were struggling with damage too, and so we're like, hey, to this one warlock, can you throw on well? And he's like, yeah, if I throw on well, I'd have to switch off prismatic, and then my ad clear is not going to be as good. I'm like, I didn't say this, but I'm like, dude, you have weapons. Use your weapons.
Right.
If you seriously can't do...
Hold on. Didn't this conversation come up in your server?
Yes.
I said that to someone.
That's what he was talking about.
To someone. Yeah.
So, and we were like, dude, how are you... You can't do ad clear with well on? Like, with all due respect, you do have weapons you can use to shoot enemies. It's not... That's not complicated. So I was like, dude.
Was that what they were referring to?
That's what we were talking about. It's just like a inside joke now.
Because I thought he was serious, and I was like,
no.
Oh. I was trying to be nice about it as well. I was like,
we were just referencing that little occurrence. But then we kept going, and we're playing, and they were struggling with something, and my buddy Cameron was trying to explain that to them, like something about the encounter that they weren't grasping. And Cameron's talking, and the one dude is just like spamming like the stupid soundboard the entire time while he's trying to explain something. God. You know, like those like annoying ass like quotes and stuff people can do. Oh my god! And I'm like, dude, it is 12:30 in the morning. I am not listening to you spam a soundboard while we're trying to explain something, and I just kicked him. I was like,
good for you.
Ridiculous. Yeah, it was 12:30 in the morning. I didn't say anything. Yeah, I wasn't trying to be an asshole, and I didn't say anything.
LFG user.
Yeah. We were so
funny
patient.
you say that. Funny you say that. One of my friends used AI voiced thing for the whole of a Val run where we were teaching 2 people.
Oh my god!
And I had never done getting the symbols in Caretaker. I'd never done that, and my friend is able to solo it because you can solo it, but it's more of a gamble that way. And I was doing it with him, and I've no clue. And the whole raid, he's talking to us with a Donald Trump AI, and he's going, "That's great. They're the best Val symbols I've ever seen."
Oh my god!
Like the whole time, he's like, "Did you shoot Crystal? Yeah, I need a cleanse." The whole time, I'm going, "Can you stop?" And you just use your normal voice. It was very funny, but
that's so annoying.
So it's funny. So the very first raid that I completed, and I still am actually friends with them on PlayStation Network. I should actually message him sometime and be like, I don't know if you know this, but you were my first. But like his buddy, like we were, it was Fog, but like his buddy could do the best Hank Hill impression, and it was like, yeah, there was a couple of times where I was like in tears, and it like he didn't do it all the time. He wasn't like spamming the voice. But like
no,
he's like he could do it so well, and it like I think it's the only reason we completed the raid because it was like everything was getting tense, and then he'd be like, "I'm gonna kick your ass," and then it was like we were all just like dying laughing. So there's a time and a place for impressions and voices.
Time and a place, yeah.
Oh yeah,
but
Bobby, what the hell? I mean, I said I was doing it the other night. To Luke and Jamie, my Zavala impression, asking him to get me different biscuits. Guardian, I need you to go to the shop and get me some McVitie's.
oh, that's great.
My god. There's so many characters who could do impressions of.
Hello, Guardian.
Hello, God. Indeed.
Indeed.
I always used to do a Master Rahul impression back in the day.
Oh,
changing, Guardian.
Yeah, of course. Sequence is pattern. That voice line gets me every time.
That's so good.
It's the way he's so enthusiastic.
Yeah.
Of course, sequence is pattern. It's like, really?
All right, what were we talking about?
LFG experience.
LFG, yeah. I told you guys about my Crown of Sorrow experience, right? That's my favorite one.
No.
Did I not? Okay. I'll quickly go over this because it's my favorite LFG story. So it was, Rob, you know Ryan.
Yeah.
Buddy Ryan and I were doing Crown of Sorrow when it first came out. I think it was probably the first weekend. And it was just me and Ryan, and we needed 4 other guys to do an LFG Crown of Sorrow. So we invite some dudes off LFG, and we're in a PlayStation party separate from game chat. This is like before Fireteam Finder and everything. And so we're in our little PlayStation party, and we invite these 4 guys, and they've all got their like Crown of Sorrow emblems on with their clears and everything.
Right.
And we're like, all right, we'll just wait until we like load into the raid, until we like invite them to the party. And we load in, we invite everybody into the party, and this guy just starts like going off on us like immediately. It's like, you guys don't have any fucking clears, you guys suck. And I'm like, Jesus, like, because we didn't have our emblems on, we hadn't cleared the raid yet. I think it was like opening weekend,
right?
And this guy was like livid at us for not having any clears, and we're like, okay, and we like just kick him from the party. And this guy is I don't know, he's a little bit older gentleman with like a really thick southern accent, goes, yeah, this guy came into this party and he was just cussing the whole time, and I don't know what was going on. It was so funny. But we got like swore at like to high hell and back. It was bad just for not having an emblem on. It was hilarious.
That's pretty good.
I've been kicked from, because I've got a Bungie Bounty emblem. I'll never take it off. I'm like, I earned that shit. I've always wanted one, and then I got it, and I was like happy for too much of a long time.
Yeah, that's cool.
For a fucking emblem. But before I had it, I used to play trials with these people on occasion, and they're like very sweaty players, and they invited me, and I joined, and they kicked me, and they're like, "Oh yeah, your emblem's not good enough." I was like, "What does that even mean? What does that even mean?" Yeah, well, I've got a Bungie bounty emblem now, so they can suck an egg.
Yeah, exactly.
But like, like, who cares? Like, I care about it because it's just a personal thing, but I don't like. Yeah, I don't get that the emblems that end up on eBay for like $1,000.
Oh my god.
Yeah, I've got a few emblems that I've looked up on eBay, like there were codes, and my friend's like, "Oh, they're really expensive now," and I've looked them up. And I'm like, "Yeah, that's not good at all."
What's the one that that was like a promotional D1? It was like the like periodically you still see them surface once in a while on like eBay or something. It was like a vanilla D1 shader.
Oh my god! Sorry,
It was like it's like black and orange or something like that. I don't remember what it's like. But
I don't know.
I have an emblem that's it's $850.
Holy shit.
Why?
On eBay.
What?
Yeah. First to the Forge. It's like a tie-dye, I guess, like looking thing that was the shop emblem, because you know they do shop emblems for each sort of like season.
Yeah.
Right.
And it was when they season of the Forge. And I've got quite a few of those emblems, or like, you know, ones from buying stuff, and yeah, people were selling them on eBay for nuts. But a lot of people, I don't. If people are unaware of this, you see people with like quote unquote sweaty emblems, or you know, like cool emblems. People can link multiple accounts to a Bungie thing, so you can pay to have your account linked to someone who has those emblems. Right. So I know a lot of people who have these cool emblems, but it's because they're linked to a Bungie account. They don't actually have the emblem. So yeah, if you're an emblem collector and you're bothered about some random person getting a sweaty emblem, don't. Because some of them, not all of them, some of them don't work that way, but a fair amount of them are like that.
Yeah.
I know a lot of people are like, I earned this. It's like, I know you didn't. I know, like, you can do it. You know, you can do it with the movie of the week emblems. I know that.
Yeah.
Oh, I see.
Yeah,
they,
so
like,
there's a fair amount of people who.
Okay.
Yeah. It's like it links to the Bungie account, and you can have multiple things to it, and you can. I've seen them. People like buy them off eBay and stuff.
Damn.
By the way, if anyone cares, it was the blacksmith shader was like the weird one that's like kind of
from
rare.
the Forge, right?
From D1.
Oh, the tiger one. The tiger one.
No, it's not the tiger one. It's like black with some like gold-ish underlays where it's like it was like
I think
there's a shader called Blacksmith in D2 that's like black and red.
Yeah, this is a D1 shader that like periodically someone will give out a code or something still on like the old D1 subreddit and stuff like that, but it's kind of a weird exclusive one too. I don't know, I couldn't remember what it was.
That's
called.
Cool. Secret collectible.
Yeah, exactly.
All right, so the last thing we should talk about is what we said we were going to talk about. Season of the Echoes, aka Episode 1.
Wow.
Echoes. So to preface the story of the premise of this episode is like after we killed the witness, the light from the Traveler something, the light in the dark end up on Nessus for some reason, and the Vex are interested in it, and Failsafe is back, everyone's favorite character, and she's like, let's go investigate.
Right.
And that's about it. So
she is my favorite character.
Let's go on an adventure.
I like Failsafe. Failsafe is cool. But that's kind of the premise. There are, I want to say like two main activities. There's like the Breach Executable, which is like a 3-person match-made thing that's kind of, I want to say it's kind of like Menagerie-esque, where it's got like different encounters every time and like different bosses and stuff like that, kind of random.
Don't you dare
which is
compare
pretty cool.
it to the Menagerie.
Yeah, that's fair. And then
what a boring activity.
oh boy. And then there's what is it called? Something weird. Some Vex Network secret mission.
Time trial thing.
It's called
I'm looking it up right
something.
Enigma Protocol.
Enigma Protocol. And that's like a timed mission where you go into the Vex Network, and you have to like find the node to get to the mission in the first place by like decoding messages on Nessus and stuff, which I thought was cool because I found that on my own. I didn't even know about that.
Right, but you can just you can go straight to the last one and just like unlock it as well, which is I wish there was a little more like forced, like some kind of path to get there that forced you to do it, whereas like you could just literally beeline straight to the final pit and you just had it unlocked.
Yeah.
But it's fine.
So I guess I'll kick this off by saying, so I haven't really dove into the episode too much, but I've played enough of it that I have kind of a general first impression of it, and it's okay. Like, Breach Executable is, I think, a fine activity. It's not like super engaging. It's certainly not like the worst quote unquote seasonal activity we've ever had. I really like the weapons a lot. Like, there's some cool like new archetypes of like weapons and things like that are cool. I really like the aerial denial frame nade launcher and
that is very good. I hope we get more of those.
Oh, dude, it's awesome. And the Time Worn Wayfarer scout rifle, which kills me because it's a what is it called? Stock. What are those kinds of rifles called? Bolt action rifle, but
it's a lever
action.
Yeah.
Lever
action rifle. It's a lever action.
Lever. The British.
So it is a lever action rifle, but it's Vex, which is hilarious.
We speak the Queen's English here, sir. Or the King's English.
It's like a super futuristic like lever action rifle. It's like, how does that make any sense?
Musket.
But, yeah, it's so silly, but I love it. I think it's cool. Enigma Protocol I haven't really touched, but some like the specimens and things like that, kind of like I'm very confused on how the whole system is supposed to work.
You're becoming like a botanist on Nessus. That's it.
Yeah. And then the story is like really boring, in my opinion. But I don't know. Open it up to you guys. I have like mixed thoughts on this.
So I think the activity is
Yeah.
I haven't tried I only did the speed, the timed one once because I discovered it like as same as you. There's like a mission that you do, and it sort of shows you it, and we didn't get very far because this was quite early on, and I was nowhere near because it's like 2000 the light level or something like that, or a bit higher, and I was still like 1970 or something, 75. But it was fun. I liked the Sparrow section in it. That's cool that they added that. Teasing us with SRL again, Bungie. I know.
It hurts.
But I like the guns. The guns are really cool, even if I'm not going to use half of them because I don't like the archetype, like the hand cannon. They all look very, very cool. They're probably the best looking weapons, like design wise, I think, in a while. I have not liked a lot of the past seasonal guns. I think they've been quite boring. Even if the guns are good themselves with their perks, or just the design wise. I think for me, I know people are angry. They're like, it's the same as a season. I didn't really think it was going to be much different other than the fact that there were individual stories that you didn't need to have done anything prior to sort of do them. And they were split up more. I kind of gathered that from what they said. I know they didn't specifically say that. That was just sort of something I interpreted from what they were talking about. I don't mind it being split up because I kind of feel annoyed to log on and go, oh, I have to do the story every week. In terms of like a long, like continuously for 10 weeks straight. Because then it feels more like a chore. But I also agree that on the part of they shouldn't just dump the story like they did with, say, like House of Wolves or, Warmind in those sorts of DLCs where the story comes out and I feel obligated to play through it straight away, regardless of there being a raid or whatever, just because I don't want to be spoiled. And I like taking my time with stories. Typically, I would like to do that normally, but I can't with big DLC drops because it'd just be spoiled, or raid race or whatever. But I don't mind that. But with seasonal stuff, I don't mind the story being slow. It's like a TV show. I enjoy TV.
Well, All right, so I respectfully disagree, and I'm gonna.
Oh yeah, no, I know I'm not. I know I'm not going to be in the minority, the majority in.
No, and that's totally fair. You're absolutely
Yeah.
entitled to your opinion. But so the problem with me is that it would be fine to drip feed it, I guess, right? Like a TV show, if the the content they were actually getting story wise was significant enough to be an episode. This feels less like, oh, here's an episode of a TV show weekly, and more like, here is a fifth of an episode per week. Like it's not even like a complete chapter. You know what I mean? And the more you drag it out, the less interested I am in the story, and I get to the point where I like don't even care about what's happening anymore. I prefer when they drop stories all at once, because then I can play through it like, you know, just all at once, so I get the entire story and I'm invested throughout the whole thing. I mean, half the time I'll like forget what happened in like the last thing because it was like so insignificant, and it's been a week since it happened and I don't even care anymore. And they've also taken the seasonal drip feed model and they've somehow made it worse, in the sense that now we're breaking up. Not only is it broke up weekly, but now it's broken up into 3 acts for reasons unknown to me. I don't really know why, what the point of that is. Like, why break it up into thirds like that and break it up weekly to the point where it's like completely piecemealed. I feel like that's kind of silly. I mean, imagine like playing a campaign like that. Like, it just doesn't feel right, you know? But that's just me. Rob, what about you?
I fundamentally, like, I know, I think when they first announced the final shape, right, we did the stream and they talked about how they were changing up the seasonal model and they were doing these episodes. They did make it seem like they were really kind of fundamentally changing how we were going to get the material presented to us. And I feel like this is so similar to Seasons, like the kind of typical drip feed. And you know, it's a couple activities, and I'm excited to see if they like expand on it and warp it and change it. But like, as of right now, I'm not really convinced that they, you know, and this is the first episode and it launched with the actual like DLC, which this, you can always say like, well, they put more emphasis on the actual DLC versus the season, and that's fine. Like, I'm disappointed, but not as like disappointed as probably some people are. Like, I didn't really have high expectations that they were going to change it too much. I was excited to see what they were going to do, but now that we've seen it and seen that they didn't really change that much, it's kind of like, yeah, okay. Like, you know, there's new weapons, there's new activities. Like, the seasonal story thing is like kind of interesting, I guess. Like, it's neat that we have failsafe again, but it's also like not that like now, like this past week, spoilers, it kind of seems like Saint 14 might be possessed or sort of like brainwashed or like hacked, so to speak, because he's an exo, and there's, you know, like they say they share the same kind of radiolarian architecture as the Vex do, so whatever is controlling the Vex potentially has the ability to control like exos. So that's kind of cool. Like, there's some actual drama and maybe there's a character at stake, but it's like, it's still just seasonal stuff where stuff is going to happen kind of on a week by week, and then there's going to be this long lull because they like kind of present it all at once, but also not really. But now it's just going to be drawn out over 4 months instead of 3 months. Like, it's fine. Like, there's so much other stuff to do because it's like a whole new expansion that I'm not too upset. But I really hope, for everyone's sake, by the time we get to the next episode, that it's not this lackluster, I'll say. Like, I'm not I'm disappointed, but I'm not so disappointed that I want my money back. Like, I didn't have crazy expectations. I'm kind of bummed out that they were like, you know, that I was like kind of validated in that. Like, I don't really see how you change it up that much without it being some like substantial change to the game that maybe alienates people. Like, it's a weekly thing. You log in, you do some things, you get more weapons, you chase red borders. Like, you do triumphs, you try to get pinnacles. Like it's all the same stuff. I don't know how you vary that concept too much without it not feeling like what we've had for the last 6 or 7 years in substantial way. Because they also I feel like they have fundamentally found a decent cadence with I'll always use the example of let's go back to Taken King era where it's we got the content drop and then something in December and then something in April. Do you really want that again? No. Exactly. So it's I'm grateful that there's.
I know. I'll just say the amount, and I would complain about it as well, but the amount of people that would complain that there is nothing to do,
right,
far weighs out the people complaining. Oh, the story is drip fed.
Right.
Sorry, Scotty, but
yeah.
That wasn't a jab at you. But it's that sort of release is boring.
It is.
It doesn't. It's so boring because the gap between the Taken King, all right, we got SRL in December, but there wasn't missions.
Right.
It was SRL. It's fun, but it doesn't replace a DLC drop. And then we got the April update. The gap between Taken King and Rise of Iron was the longest fucking boring thing in there was nothing.
Right.
There was just nothing.
Right.
And then if the Dark Below, House of Wolves, or Curse of Osiris, Warmind, they're fun for the first week. Maybe not Curse of Osiris or Dark Below, but then after that it's gone because everyone's just played it instantly, and then people just complain. Literally, I remember Warmind came out, and Warmind was a lot better than Curse of Osiris, and there was some good updates at the time. And it was 2 weeks after Warmind, and there was some good changes in terms of secrets and collectibles and things like that.
Right.
And people were well, there's nothing to do. It's well, no, because you've just blasted the whole fucking everything.
Well, and maybe that's something to be said about just the general landscape of games, where it's people will something will come out and people just
do it for content
and consume it as quickly as possible, and then complain that there's nothing to do. And there's a couple people.
I the amount of people I had seen make YouTube videos. I'm not naming anyone in particular because I think a lot of people are guilty of this.
Right.
I'd watch them just steamroll and do everything and upload everything, and I get it, it's their job, and obviously they're going to chase views. That's what they do.
Yeah.
But then immediately after they go, there's nothing to do now, and it's but you did that. I get it. You did it for your job.
Right.
But but you just did everything in the span of 2 weeks. Of course, there's nothing to do now.
Right. Well, and it's or there's a guy in our clan, and I'm not this is not on him, but it's he works at home and has a job where he basically can play video games all day, and as long as he answers a few IT tickets, he gets paid full-time salary. And I know that's the dream job for a lot of people, but then it's he plays way more Destiny than anyone else in our clan. And so he has everything done. He got to max pinnacles before everyone else did, and is doing all this other stuff. And then it's at night when the rest of us get on and want to do something, he's I'm going to go to bed. And it's well, okay, but we want to do stuff now.
Yeah.
And it's kind of frustrating because it's and then he's going to be the one that drops off before everyone else and complains that there's nothing to do in the game. It's because you played it 12 hours a day for the first month, and we're all still I'm purposely trying to pace myself, kind of like last season where it's we knew it was going to be this long 7-month gauntlet of trying to make it all the way to the end, and it's people are so obsessed with just getting everything unlocked that first week, and then there's nothing to do, and it's hey, you know what, if that's your style, great, but stop complaining about it, because it gets really old when it's all you do is just consume everything. There's still a ton of stuff in the Pale Heart that I have not even touched.
I'm going to say this as well, is they've literally done it, I think also partly, is so you can play something else. You don't, there's the 3 week gap now, it's 3 weeks or it's a month. I'm not saying it's all the reason they've done this. I'm not saying that. I think it's also partly for catch up for Final Shape is another part of it as well, because you've got more casual people. But I like it because I don't feel, obviously I play Destiny for fun, but I don't feel forced to come on and do a progressive quest, like I said, on the Tuesday, because I can play something else. I got given a Valorant beta key for console, so I've been playing that. And I can jump on Overwatch, and I don't feel I have to. I don't want to feel forced I have to play the game. I want to play it when I enjoy it. I don't want it feel like a job, and this is another way of making it feel like not a job.
Yeah,
I think people would enjoy the game a lot more. You can play it loads, yeah, but when you don't need to go on, and you don't feel the need to play it, you're not sitting there going, I think I'll play Destiny. Don't play it. And there's now weeks where you don't have to.
Yeah, and that's great. Like, it's fine. And there's so much stuff to do. Like, that's kind of why I like having some friends that have never really like done the raids or like some of the dungeons, because it's an excuse for me to go back and like, oh yeah, I haven't done this in a while. It's kind of fun to teach it, and it feels kind of fresh because I haven't touched it in a year. Or like, we're talking about Garden of Salvation. Like, maybe eventually someone's gonna want to do a div run. Like, bless their heart, but yeah, maybe it would be good to go back and do one and just make you appreciate like how far we've come. It's like it's fine.
Yeah,
like, I don't know.
Yeah. So. All right, yeah. So let's talk about like the actual gameplay loop of the season.
Yes.
How are we feeling about Breach Executable and collecting little I don't know, specimens, whatever they're called, radiolaria, whatever it's called, thingies and stuff.
Fine. I think it will be better when I feel like the activity is going to update as in the next act.
I think so.
I could be wrong on that. It's fine at the minute. I enjoy Failsafe's dialogue. It's funny. And the gear is cool looking. I mean, I've got the gear now, and that was the main reason I was playing it. But I don't feel the need to play it that much. But I'm not. This is not an excuse, but I always feel like the first season of the year or episode, whatever, is. The activity is the weakest. Yeah. The first one is the 100%. Weakest. 100%. And it's not an excuse, but like logic-wise and work-wise, they're not going to pour their heart and soul into the first one that comes out because people are playing the big DLC.
Right.
It's cost-effective. Like, I know that just sounds awful and supportive of money corporation, but
the Pale Heart sort of subsidizes that activity by like right. You can farm ergo sums, you can run dual destiny or complain about dual destiny if you want as well. Like there's so much stuff.
I'll be doing that.
There's so many things to explore and do and still like figure out, and like there's all those like Micah activities, like all of that. It like I know it's not technically season 1 stuff, but it's all in service to like kill time and do something else as well. Like there's so much to do. People just need to stop complaining all the time and get the stupid putty knife helmet for the warlock.
That helmet is cool.
No, it's not. It's
all the
terrible.
Helmets are cool. It is. It's cool. It looks so alien. I love it.
So now we've gone from Cenotaph, which is a aircraft.
That's
carrier.
cool as well.
Yeah, it's so stupid.
I can do my Mega Mewtwo Y cosplay on my wall.
I'll give you that. I'll give you that. That wins.
No, I like it. It looks alien. I like Vex armor when it actually looks like Vex, not when it's like not Vexy. Like the Garden of Salvation armor is poo.
Well, that was just a reskin of what the Curse of Osiris.
I know.
That's the biggest atrocity.
I know.
What if I said I kind of like the garden armor?
Here's my shameless plug for Vogue. I like the Vogue armor because it looks like you took parts of Vex and slapped them on you. So there you go.
I like the Titan helmet. That's about it. The Age of Triumph stuff was so much better.
Oh yeah,
I love
sure.
the Wi-Fi bar on the back of my chest piece. And the Hunter robot leg. But
yeah, it's pretty badass.
I'm interested in the story because I like the Vex as a concept, and I feel like they're changing them because they don't have. I mean, there's leaks as well. I'm not going to mention them, but they don't have a leading figure, the Vex, so they're quite hard to do as a force in terms of story-wise. Like who's the antagonist we talk to? Yeah, I mean, as a concept-wise, they're very interesting, aren't they? Because it's like they're. I don't know. I just find it very interesting. But I can see why people would not like the story as such. The one thing I will say is they need to have separate instances for areas. They need to do that. Warframe does it. Like, come on, Bungie, please.
What do you mean?
Like the mission. The mission. The third mission of the first act, where it's like, oh, the planet's changing, and you go to the is it the cistern, where there's that big radiolarian, like it's all drained out and there's all this vegetation there, and it's only in the mission. It's not in, like, it's not part of the patrol area.
Mm-hmm.
They need to make it so that once you've done certain things, it updates the patrol.
Sure.
So once you've done that mission, that's what it looks like from now on. So just load people into different instances. They need to start doing that, because they'll be able to tell better storytelling in the game world.
Yeah.
Like, because then you could have it in a sense of, say, with like the Pale Heart, the more overthrow you do, the more like stuff is there other than the witness hands with flowers growing out of them that you've done yourself.
Mm-hmm.
They need to start doing that, where you go to a space. I mean, they sort of did it with the farm in vanilla D2, where more people are there, but they need to start doing it, I think, if they want to tell like environmental storytelling, because it helps with the story. It's like my one criticism. It's a big thing. I'm not saying it's an easy thing to do. I have no idea the technical aspect of it. And I'm not claiming to think, it's easy. You press a button and people go there. It's not like that. But I feel like that needs to happen at some point.
Yeah, I agree. All right. Well, I think that's about it for this episode, I'd say. Check back in on Echo stuff later. And in a future episode, we can talk Salvation's Edge stuff. Map and I still have to finish it and play it a few more times before we dive into that. But I know Rob has some opinions on Salvation's Edge that I'd love to get into soon. So thank you guys for listening. Thank you guys for hopping on and chatting as always. If you guys don't follow us on Twitch, please go check us out on Twitch. We stream live semi-often. Go follow us on X/Twitter. You can engage with us there, and we can
YouTube.
Talk. Yeah. Further the discussion. YouTube, we started dropping some YouTube videos. If you're more of a YouTube person, go check our episodes out on there as well. And you can email us at eventideradio@gmail.com. What else do I have to plug? I think that's about it. Go check out our interview with Laura and Travia. That's a really fun episode if you haven't seen it yet. So thank you guys for listening, and we'll see you guys next time. Bye.
You can put this voice recording away and go on with your life, because you and I both know you'd have me yapping in your ear for the rest of your days.
Want to further the discussion? Get in touch with us at any of our Twitter handles, all of which can be found at our podcast description.